So hello and welcome everyone to week 5, can't believe it's week 5 already, of Talking Asperger's with Andrew. Just to let you know that I'm Andrew Marsh and I was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 51, that's all 6 years ago. And I'm here helping people who are on the spectrum or might be on the spectrum or just want to know a bit more about Asperger's, see if I can help them out in their daily lives or with any issues they have at work, and just be a sort of a community touch point to build a community where people can talk about their issues or questions they have about Asperger's in a safe way. And so today we're going to be looking at the positives of Asperger's, and this is a very interesting one, this one. It's acceptance of difference, accepting of differences. And you might be sitting there thinking, oh, hang on, we've got another guest. So we'll just admit Alan. Hello. Hello, Alan. Welcome. Hi, Alan. Welcome.
Sorry, Zoom has made a mistake here. I'll need to rename myself. There we go.
So
okay, just to let you know, we're recording, Alan. David. Sorry.
It's okay. I heard that. Thank you.
There you go. Right. Yes, we are recording. I'll just recap what I just said there.
Sorry for being late.
That's quite all right. Welcome to the group. I'm Andrew Marsh, and I was diagnosed with Asperger's 6 years ago when I was 51. And I want to have this as a little community where we help each other understand a little bit more about Asperger's syndrome, and if anyone, whether they're on the spectrum or not, whether they have family members or colleagues at work who are on the spectrum, and really just be a touch point where people can come in a safe space, ask questions, and hopefully I can help them out with some answers if I can, and if I can't answer them on the day, I will get back to you during the week. So today we're looking at one of the 12 positive traits of Asperger's syndrome. And today we're looking at an interesting one called acceptance of difference. And it's interesting in the sense that everyone is different, and without putting people into pigeonholes and boxes, which is something I absolutely detest, we come across and we meet all sorts of people from all walks of life, different colors, creeds, races, religions, belief systems, physical appearance, whether they're a bigger person or a thin person, or they've got blonde hair, or they've got blue eyes, or they've got green eyes. And because people are on the spectrum, certainly from my experience, I've always found it difficult fitting in with people. And so I found that I get along better with people without judging them, because I had a limited range of friends, limited groups of friends at school and at work. And so I would be more, I said attracted to, but I would be more amenable to talk to the people that weren't necessarily part of the main group of society. I would be happy to talk to them and have discussions with them and befriend them. And so because we understand ourselves what it's like to be judged and to be different, we're kind of a bit more accepting of other people who are different in their own way. And that makes it very interesting points of view and perspectives on who you are and what sort of groups and people that you mingle with and you associate with. And I'm interested from the point of view that because everyone is different, I try and find something of commonality between me and them. Might be a very stretched commonality. They might like the same television programs or same football team, or they might have a certain special interest in Lord of the Rings, for example, or something like that. And so you will find a way of connecting with someone on a personal level. And I think that's really important to do that. And I was quite successful in being friendly with people who might be called the misfits, the nerds and the geeks. And I use those with inverted commas because how do you define that sort of person if you're different in your own way yourself? So it's that lack of breaking of acceptance of, sorry, it's acceptance of difference, and it's a lack of judging people on who they are. And I was just wondering if anyone had an experience of feeling different or being different, and how they've been getting on with other people. Yes, David.
I've got some very specific views on this. One of them is that all of my behaviour is learned. And I think if most people are honest about it, even neurotypicals have got learned behaviour. And what happens over the years is, when I was younger, this was a problem. But, you know, I'm in my 50s now, same as yourself. And I found that because I've came across so many situations, I now have the tool set. So what happens quite a lot is, when you actually review somebody like myself against a neurotypical in a social situation, I tend to find I'm actually better at it, even though I've got Asperger's. Right? And it's because of learned behaviour. You've got to have a mass of tools. There's a crucial, critical mass point where that becomes effective. And when you're 16, you're hopeless at it, or I was, right? You know, 16 years old, you don't know anything. You've only learned a little bit of behaviour. But now I can get into almost any given social situation and I have something in the bag. So I find that within that, I don't necessarily have to go with somebody different, because I just know the list that I have to go through. You know, to me, it's the Terminator, you know, when he looks and he sees, you know, 4 males, blah, 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 one's drunk, you know, how do I deal with this situation? That's what you do. And I just find that not against too strong a word, but if you're comparing me against a neurotypical, I tend to find that I'm actually better than them at that because of learned behaviour. And I'll just finish that by saying, if it's all learned behaviour anyway, why learn to be a moany git? Do you know what I mean? I've never understood why people learn to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, if you take a very simple but complicated situation of racism is learned behavior. No child is born racist. You put a group of children in a school that come from all walks of life, all colors, all backgrounds, they will just sit and play and talk and enjoy each other's company. And it's only when someone tells them and reinforces something about them being different to you is where that kind of learned behavior comes from. Yeah, I completely get that, David.
Also, I think that on the other side of it, once you guys realize and have the diagnosis, particularly, you are self-aware. And when it comes to neurotypicals, they sometimes go to their grave not being self-aware because they just haven't learned that particular talent. And it's one of those things that, doing the kind of work that I do anyway, I find that a lot of people are strangers to themselves, particularly now. However, when it comes to people with ADHD on the spectrum, then you find that because they've had to self-examine and they've come to a point where someone has said, here's the mirror, this is what you are, this is who you are. Then it gets to the stage of the acceptance of that is one thing, but also that's when there is the lesson of fitting in. Like you say, David, you've learned how to negotiate social situations. And that's exactly what we have to do. When we extrapolate that, we can do that when we go into any situation. And anybody, you don't have to be on the spectrum, can learn to do that. And I think this is one of the things that we have to realize, is that just because you have a label, it's not a hook to hang everything on. It actually means that, okay, this is my base for experimentation. This is my basis for understanding. And this is where I can safely stand and say, okay, I'm not getting you, I'm not understanding you because of this. Can you help me to understand? Not make me understand, but help me to understand. And I think that basically because of the way that you're wired, it goes in and it sticks better than a lot of people who have not got Asperger's.
I think one of the things I've noticed when I look back on my life is that I have developed my own coping strategies for a whole range of situations, but it would be very difficult for me to actually sit down and define them. I would have to have an example of a situation, then say, "Oh, I do this when that happens," and I think you're right, David. What you say is we become more aware. I know when we started before lockdown, we were doing networking events, and I gradually got more confident of being in a room of 30 people to actually start to be open and have conversations with people in a networking room of 30 or 40 people. Yeah, Damien, did you have anything you wanted to say there?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of it is learned. You learn how to cope with different situations. Some in some areas you can all, I could, from my personal opinion, maybe there are areas I don't want to fit in with, so I don't. And where I need to, for example, a room full of 30 people, I still don't think it comes naturally. I think I have to go through a set procedure of deciding who, sort of scanning the room, seeing who I could find some sort of connection with and what that connection with might be, and then work on it. And even once I'm talking to someone, I need to then continue that, because I could quite easily come to a point in time where I'm not sure what to say next, and I think I'll disappear to the corner of the room or do something else. But in some situations, I find that I don't want to fit in. In other situations, I find that I can find a way to fit in, although it is hard work. So
I agree with that.
Easier as time goes on. When I was at school, it was very different. I was always in with the 2 or 3 other pupils who would be in the classroom building a radio at break and not being out in the playground, that sort of thing. But yeah, you do learn a lot.
Yeah.
And knowing as well. I think knowing means that you can understand more your limitations and work with them as well, in order to gain something. Not use it as a sort of disability, but know what your problems are and then work on them, find ways around them.
Yeah, I mean, I go on, David. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to agree with Damien. Over the decades, there was a very common phrase the next day: "What happened to you last night, David?" Because I got into the point exactly where Damien is. What he's just discussed. You think, okay, I've tried this, I've tried that. Nah, I'm going home.
Yeah.
But Leslie's point is very good as well, because they haven't done any analysis. And the same parallel works in business. I do process management, right? And what happens is it's perfect for somebody with Asperger's, because I break everything down and then make little plans and then work it out. And what happens is quite a lot of business people, same as many people, Leslie, go to their graves having analysed their business. They've sold the business and they don't know what the hell they were doing. Right? And to me, the parallel is absolutely 100% aligned, because a lot of people, they talk about business, they don't realise that they're flying by the seat of their pants. Right? And that's what neurotypicals do in social situations. And what they don't realise is that can actually blow up much quicker than we can, because, Damien, I'm the same as you. If there's a complete disconnect, I'm off.
Yeah, I'll just disappear. I'll go.
Yeah.
I must admit, as someone who bridges the line between neurotypical and neurodiverse, I actually enjoy flying by the seat of my pants quite a bit. I have that kind of, let's see what's going to happen here.
Yeah,
there's a process for that, Leslie. There's a process for that.
There's a process for it.
Leslie is definitely someone who likes to stick her finger in the pie, give it a stir, and see what comes out of it. Definitely. But
that's a process, Andrew. What you're doing is, I'll insert the finger in the pie, I'll agitate it, I'm expecting these 4 outcomes.
Yes.
Oh, I've got that one. Is that because of that, or is that because of that?
Yeah.
That is still a process.
Yes, it is. One of those processes that I have when I'm in a situation, it could be a family group or friends or something like that, I will get to a point in the evening, no matter how well or how not well I am enjoying myself, I will get to the point where this was very nice. but I need to go now. And I don't want to be rude, but I need to go now. Thank you very much for having me. Grab my coat. Come on, Leslie, we're going. And Leslie's like, but I'm in the middle of something. Leslie, I need to go now. The reason for that is if I stayed longer, the sense of overwhelm, the sense of too much emotion, the sense of all that's going on around me will become too much. And then I might say something less than particularly pleasant, or I might do something that causes a scene. And rather than have that and have the Andrew meltdown or the Andrew incident, I extract myself from that by saying, very nice, thanks for having me, but we need to go now. So that I take myself out of the environment that I felt the pressure and the stress. Yeah.
This is why we don't have too many dinner parties.
Yeah, but there's another plus side to that. I like the pluses, right? And the plus side to that for me is if I'm not enjoying my company, I'll just relax the filter a little bit. And then they all hate me. And I'm quite happy to leave after that. Because I will say something inappropriate. Definitely. It's going to happen. If I reduce those filters, it's going to happen. And that way I don't feel in any way any kind of weird emotion leaving.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't have approved of me making a scene, and the wrath of my parents was far greater than the incident that might happen. So I tried not to be the person that made the scene, but I did fail spectacularly sometimes as a kid. Yeah, definitely.
Because the parents, right? We never ever got my father diagnosed with anything, but he would deliberately say things inappropriately. You know, and that was just to throw the hand grenade across the desk and see what happened, right?
Yeah.
So much the same way as Leslie, but he's doing that deliberately. That's a learned behaviour.
Yeah.
And we never ever got him diagnosed, and he's gone now.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've given us stuff to with the fun. Hilarious.
I have to. I'm aware that there is a line between accidentally causing something to happen because I've said or done something inappropriate and deliberately doing it. We all know how to deliberately wind someone up, piss them off, and have and cause a scene. I'm absolutely certain that we all know how to do that, but I try to avoid that because I don't like what I can become when that happens, and I don't like the stress of a confrontational situation. But there is a difference between accidentally causing an incident in family situation and deliberately going out to cause the incident. That I definitely, there are two different things. And yeah, I've made some spectacular failures over the years.
This is it though, it's the acceptance of difference, and sometimes particularly in families, they don't see it. So they don't recognize it and they find it difficult to accept your difference. I know from a very early age, the difference was weird for me. Everybody thought I was weird and I embraced that. I thought that was great because it meant they would leave me alone. I could go off and do what I wanted to do. And if I did do something or say something that was slightly inappropriate or weird, it was to be expected. And that was just me.
Yes.
So, you know, and Damien,
I remember. Yeah, I remember when I was about 10, the first Christmas present I remember that my brother got me. This is talking about differences. He bought me a mug which has been made so it's warped. It's like pushed in the middle, and on the side of it was written, "I was dropped when I was a baby," as if to say, he was saying you're a little weird or something, and here's a mug to show.
Did you like that gift, Damien?
Sorry?
Did you like that gift?
I really did. I've still got it, the mug.
Right.
It's really nice. It has little eyes on it, and it's sort of in the shape of a face, but pushed in one side. It's actually a very nice mug.
My cousin had one that was exactly the same as that, and it said "Made in Britain" on it, which we thought was quite funny.
Getting a bit topical, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So difference, it's a heck of a thing. How do we it's interesting what David was saying. How do we define what is different? I don't know.
Define normal before you can define different.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what I was coming to, is that there is no such thing as normal.
Well, yeah,
because if you were to speak to
Fred,
Yeah. If you were to speak to Fred West's children about what normal upbringing was compared to perhaps you and I's upbringing, is completely different. You know, so what is normal? What is normal? It's
the accepted norm for that area or culture, or
yeah.
so it can be very different in different parts of the world, I suppose.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and the
it's
interesting thing is though, if everybody did the same thing, would we not still be more or less staying in caves? It's the person who steps out of the norm who makes the changes more often than not.
I noticed that when I came to Scotland. I came to Scotland when I was 22, and it is a different place from where I grew up in Sussex. Scotland, it is different, and trying to fit in with, you know, Scottish people and the Scottish way of life and living in Glasgow and Lanarkshire was different. It was a completely different experience, and simple things like my boss said to me one day, "Can you go and uplift this report from their client?" And I'm like, what? I didn't know what he meant. He obviously meant, can you go and pick it up? Can you go and collect it? But I'd never heard of the word uplift in that context before. And
tell you the truth, I've never heard of the word uplift in that context before either.
Well, there you go. And another one was upbraid. He upbraided me. I'd have no idea what that meant. That's telling him off. I mean, so I had to try and learn this new language, this new culture when I came to Scotland, and it was quite an interesting challenge actually, and that made me stick out even more because I was the English guy in the office, you know, because there weren't too many English guys in the consulting engineers in Glasgow where I worked, and so everyone knew me as the English guy as well as the geologist, but it was more, he's that English guy, he's different, and that was bizarre. That sense of immediately being different amongst your peers was quite a culture shock.
But
A lot of it comes from language, though.
Yeah.
Well, language is a different thing. That's just another alienation point. But what I always talked about was 10, maybe 11 years old, I had a wee pal, and we were all kind of similar. We were the odd couple, you know, as a couple of friends. But I remember saying to him one day, everybody's trying to be a cool kid, right? And by doing outlandish, cool things, right? And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and be one of the normal kids. And he said, that's actually pretty cool, Dave. So it was one of those weird 180 became a 360, became another 180. And it kind of worked because I did end up being part of the kind of cool gang because I was odd. So it's a weird thing. I don't know how social interactions truly work. I only know how I react to them.
No, I don't think anyone's ever nailed that down, because I certainly didn't get the guidebook if there was one. Yeah.
million book seller if you could.
It's basically an energetic thing as well. You either like somebody or you don't. You either respect someone or you don't. And sometimes we don't even understand the process behind that when it comes to thoughts and feelings. You know, they say that first impressions count, but sometimes you can get the wrong first impression because you're in a certain state of mind when you're meeting that person or in that situation, and they're in a certain state of mind that perhaps they wouldn't normally be. They wouldn't usually be. So when you first meet them, you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on with that person. I'm not entirely sure about that. But then if you get the opportunity to see them again in a different light, a different perspective, a different situation, you sometimes see them differently too. And I think that that's got a lot to do with what we were talking last week on focus, on which end of the telescope that we're looking at. Because when it comes to difference and acceptance, that depends on the focus, the perspective that you have too.
We know someone, and I'm not going to say who, but we know someone who got married recently, and this person put a picture of her with her new husband on Facebook. And when I saw it, I actually recoiled. At the image of them together, thinking that man is so not right for her. and I was actually really surprised by my reaction to it, and I don't know what it was. Just looking at them together, it was just like, that's wrong. That just doesn't fit for me, and I don't know why it was such a strong reaction that I had just looking at these two people together. Quite extraordinary.
But you do get flash reactions like that, don't you? What do you think, Damien?
Yeah, you can get, yeah, I think so. To different people, when meeting different people, you either like them or you can come to a very quick judgments, I think, of people when you first see people.
They can grow on you sometimes, though, too, can't they?
Yeah, I think sometimes I can quickly jump to the conclusion that that person won't to speak to me, but then you might find that you find some real connect with them, and it grows. Yeah, you find that. Yeah, I understand that. Yes.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it takes sort of a third person to introduce you, or to have that sort of mini connection between the three of you, for you to get to know that other person better.
Yeah, I can understand that. Having a third person, someone with a connection, almost a link between you and a new person.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, we were talking about this the other day with some friends, and when we have two groups of friends, and it's like the different facets of your personality that you show in different areas. Like, you're a different person at work to the person that you are at home. You're a different person with your parents than you are with your spouse. You're showing different sides of yourself to a certain extent. And basically, because there's a way of being in that place with that person. So if you get worked colleagues together with people that you went to school with, quite often you'll find that one of them comes and say, what are you doing with them? They just don't, what happens with that? How did you get friendly with them? Because they're just not like you. Because they actually know you as a different way of being, as a different person from, the situation that they know you in.
I think that's sort of the different masks, the different personas that we are. Because I'm probably a different person talking to my kids than I am talking to Leslie. So just who we are in a given set of circumstances, I think. But you're right. People at work or friends of mine would have reacted quite strangely to how I got on at work with other people. They would have probably thought, "Oh, that doesn't seem right for you." But it's learning how to be in a work environment with the people around you to get on, and that was something that took a while when I started work properly. Is finding out how to get on with the people that I worked with.
I'll be honest, I disagree with that. I am this person at work, in the pub. Well, I go to the pub anymore. With my family, with my friends, I am this person. And what it is because I've constructed everything. I've constructed what works best, and I'm not going to change it because of somebody else. Right, and I don't really care about the group. If the group doesn't fit with me and they don't like me, fine, not a problem. I do disagree. I understand why you've said it though, Leslie, because I did do that. For years I did that, and that actually made me quite unhappy because I wasn't being myself with certain groups of people. Now, there are certain traits that come out during certain different things, but I'm exactly the same with my family as I am with my staff. I'm exactly the same as my staff as I am with my friends. And it's just for me. I mean, we've all got the way we do it.
Don't apologise, David. Don't apologise.
I'm not saying I'm right and everyone else is wrong.
No,
we all that was the way you do it.
We all have our ways of working that works for them in whatever the situation is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Although I'm just going to take something out of the bag here, Andrew. Because when you were at work, you did mark your difference quite well when we met, because you started putting purple in your hair.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I grew my hair long and had a big purple streak and a full beard. Yeah, that was quite interesting, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, I think you find he's in a hippie.
I still like that photograph of me. We
Yes,
had
very good,
taken at
yes.
Atlanta. Great photograph of me with my
Yeah.
long hair, but purple hair.
You ever had purple hair, Damien?
Sorry?
Have you ever had purple hair?
No, I had my hair long. Well, not that long, but down to the shoulders when I was 19, 20, but and never coloured. No.
I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed to be
Sounds
rebellious at
maybe
that
a good
age.
idea. maybe that's something I should try.
Yeah, I wasn't
Oh, the
allowed.
girls loved it.
I wasn't allowed to be rebellious when I was a teenager. My parents wouldn't allow it.
Suppressed rebellion.
and the wrath, as I said earlier, the wrath of my parents was not something that you wanted to experience. Well, unless anyone has anything else they wanted to say or to contribute or ask any questions, I think it's time to wrap up today's session.
Great.
Thank you all for coming. And next week we're going to look at relationships. So that's going to be fun, looking at relationships. Definitely. There's a big take a breath from David.
I've only actually been divorced twice.
Oh, that's one more than me, David.
People with engagements fall apart, but I've only actually been divorced twice.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much for letting me in, guys. It's quite cool. Just will you send out a reminder or something? Yeah.
Yeah, I put the event up on a Friday afternoon on LinkedIn as an event, and I usually post a reminder on Monday or Tuesday as well. So yeah, but good to have you on board.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.